Mic. Camera. Action.
Carol and Stephen's life together was perfect.
I've got to get going.
Right this second. Hey, baby.
Hey, sweetie. I love you.
There's one small problem.
I think maybe I'm pregnant.
When the going gets rough, it's only the size of your heart that counts.
Would it really be that big of a deal if our kid was a dwarf?
You knocked up this great girl, and you didn't tell her that her baby's probably gonna be little.
There'll be rough patches, there's no doubt about it.
Canal Plus and Langley Productions proudly present command performances from Kate Beckinsale, Matthew McConaughey, Patricia Arquette, and in the role of a lifetime, Gary Oldman.
All right. Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the faker's filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. Today's returning guest, at his own request, our lad, is Spider Dan. Today's film is Matthew Bright's TipToes from 2002. We watch, you listen, and normally I say here, and hopefully watch along too. But I'm not sure I'd wish that on anybody. Mate, thank you for coming on, and thank you for volunteering for this one, because after this, I don't think anybody will be choosing to watch this film unless they want to truly see just how bad it is based on what I assume we're both about to say.
I think we're in the right. They were both in the same kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So I'd heard about this film, through various like podcasts, YouTubers, and various people cover it. The internet is well aware of this film and its problematic nature, and it's just it's considered arguably maybe one of the worst films ever made. Potentially, I don't know how well that stacks up against other worst films ever made. We did 1941 not so long ago, and that was up there for me as being
for sure.
one of the worst things I've ever seen. But wherever you fall on it, I was kind of like, now as well, I remember Chris made a comment about Little People on the VHS Strikes Back, probably like a year or so ago, and I went, I've got the film for them. I've got the film for the VHS Strikes Back now. I just got to wait my time, wait for the right time to drop it. And then I saw you were doing it, and I know the thing is with this, you very magnanimously put out the list every year, and you say you put it on the Discord for all of the fellow podcasters, YouTubers, and go, have at it. What do you want to bagsy? And everyone goes to the obvious stuff, Wolf of Wall Street, things like, all the popular stuff. And I'm like, what are people not going to do? what are people never going to go? What is the one guess that the guest spot that Jack's going to struggle with most? Probably TipToes. If people know what that even is. Because, again, you've had a hell of a journey. It's been you've been riding roughshod through this filmography in so many ways. The booking bronco is, has injured us quite a few times, just in our conversations, let alone with all the other guests, of how many. So I was like, I will fall on this sword. The Sultan of shit will return and fall on this particular sword because he's the hero that everybody wants, needs, and deserves. So I can talk about this. It's infamous, I would say, more so than famous. We'll get into it, but it is an interesting choice for McConaughey. Like I've just listened to your Reign of Fire podcast with Tony, and if dragons can subsist on Ash, I'm subsisting on ass films because because this is truly dog shit melodrama at its worst, with shades of quote unquote comedy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, where it's supposed to lie is a great place to start. Like, what is this supposed to be? I mean, I'm sure we've read the same kind of, tertiary kind of research stuff, and then I know how deep you go as well. And I've done some of my own, but this idea of it being this raunchy comedy starring little people from years and years and years before it got to whatever this version is. But I mean, that definitely isn't the film that you and I have watched. This is not in any way a raunchy comedy. It does have some attempts at semi-raunchiness at times.
There's a very there's a shot on Patricia Arquette.
Yeah. When you first meet her,
you first meet her and the camera is directly up her skirt.
It's like Basic Instinct style,
the shot goes from there and pans up, and then you see Patricia Arquette. It was a beautiful woman, but it was just very weird placement.
Agreed. Yeah. Now, weirdly, my brain just told me, shall I defend this moment? And I don't think I'll do that a lot in this movie. However, I do wonder if that was purposefully subjective because it's Peter Dinklage's character, isn't it? And obviously he is a little person, so maybe. But still, it's leery and gross and objective. She only exists to be objectified. I
mean, I think there's more problematic stuff than that. But I did notice, for my sins, I watched it twice. So I watched it with my friends.
I mean, you called yourself a hero, and
I am.
Many people would say, be a bit more magnanimous and be a bit more humble. But you've watched this twice. You are a true hero.
No, I'm just a self-flagellator. That's what it is. I get it's my kink. That's what it is. But yeah, I watched it with Nathan and Hannah had me round for dinner, much like when I watched Texas Chainsaw with Lucy, forced her through that. I was like, and they wanted to watch Snow White, which was again quite a controversial thing with Peter Dinklage, and I think we've got to talk about this because Peter Dinklage defends, and I think still defends, this film at the time and helping his career and what it was doing for the little people community, little person community. Neither you or I are little people, so we can only talk so much about this and the experience of that. Yeah, and I think the overall message of the film, or what they're attempting to do, is a good thing. It's attempting to kind of
normalize.
Normalize it. It's again, I think overall the message is good. I think the way they present the message is the problem. And again, it's going, these people are, these are normal people living their normal lives. There's no stereotypes here. Let's not fall into the stereotypes. While the film also falls into stereotypes and also kind of fetishizing it as a little bit as well.
Yeah. This, back to, it's just so weird, isn't it? I mean, that interview you sent me with Oldman when he's I mean, I'm doing a really good impression of
delicate.
Him. He's been delicate, but it takes him a long time to get any kind of form any kind of clear ideas what he's trying to say, and he becomes humorous towards the end. But he does say one thing that I thought was really interesting in that actually he's admitting there's issues with this movie and there are massive issues, but it did create a lot of job opportunities for little people, and I think that's a really fair point from him. Is that basically 80% of the cast, 70% of the cast is little people. So that is true. That is great. And as you said, it's the fact that they're just depicted as people and living their lives, I think is
they're just as messed up as everybody else. They've all got their issues and neuroses and problems and it's normalizing.
And I'm assuming Matthew Bright isn't a little person either.
No, I'm gonna assume that as well.
Stephen, I assume, is the Matthew Bright character here, but he is, as we'll get into, the twin of a normal sized twin of a little person. And I'm, oh my god, already we've got so many things to talk about there.
Oh my god.
But he is the person with the worst attitude towards little people in the movie. And again, I think there probably could have been something interesting to say there, but it doesn't say anything interesting. It just makes him out to be a complete asshole.
This is what I was going to say. Like, again, we've talked about the charisma, the charm, the joie de vivre of Matthew McConaughey, what he brings, and again, like you talk about Reign of Fire and like what he brings to that film, and much needed, to that film. You've gone right. Let's make him an abhorrent prick who at the same time absolutely loves his family, adores them, and will dance with the little girls in the family, his cousins, and when I say little, I mean as in young, not just little people. He absolutely adores his brother. He'll do anything, and they have jokes and they go out for drinks, and there's so much fun to be had, and there's so much care. But he also is just a fucking horrendous human being, and there's no moment or catharsis or learning or growing or changing. He's like this entitled heteronormative white guy who's absolutely gorgeous person, human being who gets kind of everything he wants and is deeply ashamed of his family, but yet goes to the events, spends time with them, and loves them, and cares for them, and makes sure that people use the correct terminology to describe them. He's like, that's offensive, do not say that, do not do that. But then has this almost self-hatred of his own genetic, and he says one of the lines is, I need new chromosomes, and it's like, but there's no like. There's a disconnect there. There's never like a moment where he goes, this happened to me. And again, I don't, your neuroses don't need a specific moment or specific trauma, but it just doesn't match up. You can't love and care and appreciate your family this much and see them as often as you do, but then, then also like despise the idea of little people all at the same time.
It's weird, isn't it? But I think also if it had been a drama, I think we probably would be both talking about this as being a really interesting and delving into, as you said, kind of the psychology of this and understanding that mixture of self-loathing. We could get into some really interesting aspects here where it's like he hates himself for hating himself in this situation. But this is so surface, isn't it? It's not interested in any of that. No. I mean, right from the off, he's just a guy in a suit. I've got no idea what job he does.
I was going to say it took me about 20 minutes.
At that moment,
it took me about 20 minutes to realize what he did.
Yeah.
Because we see him at his job, but we never like, we don't see his gear or him going, I'm off to the fireman's ball, or no. It's just like that's my job, and it's very.
Entitled is exactly the right word for it, isn't it? He's just that classic kind of entitled guy, to the point where like. We're jumping all over the place, but when she comes to see him, you mentioned when he's off doing his firefighter training, we've got to talk about so many things in that scene. But one of the things is like total gaslighting of her in that moment. And I'm not always a massive fan of that term. I think it's a little bit overused, but she's turned up here to have a go at him for the fact that he's not told her, and they've been in a relationship for a long time. They're planning on getting married and potentially having kids. And he's not told her about his family and that he's genetically, I'm going to use a word here, he's the genetic anomaly of his family. He's quote unquote abnormal because he's not a little person. He's not told her. And he tries to turn it around on her and like, don't come here and be rude to me and talk down to me. And no, mate, you are the fucking arsehole.
He does that in almost every conversation as well.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a very toxic trait. He's like, oh, well, you don't preach to me and don't do this. And I'm like, fucking hell, like, like he's really going ham on trying to be unlikable, and the script is doing it, but it's because, and the thing is, I can see him trying. He's really trying. He's really trying.
McConaughey, the actor here. Sorry.
Sorry. The McConaughey, the actor, is trying because he knows there is nothing on the page. There is nothing here that he can ground this performance in. And the film feels like it ends. We get to the hour in, and it feels like it pretty much has ended. Like it's all been resolved. It's fine. It's happy. And then we have this extra like 20-minute section, 25-minute section, and it like I said to you, it falls off a cliff before we started recording. Not that it was on a very stable point on that cliff, just on the precipice, but like it would make more sense if it was like Kate Beckinsale's prejudice and her family's prejudice would make far more sense in this. And like, it's my baby. This is my body. How could you? Because and she'd be right. She'd be right.
She would. Yeah.
Why did you keep this from me? She was like, I don't know. I didn't know how you're going to react. I love my family. I care for them. But, I've had previous girlfriends in the past and they've run away, or it freaked them out, or it changed the relationship. Like, that'd be a good reason. And her like falling into that trap that he's felt before is kind of would justify his feelings towards it and towards this situation. Why he wouldn't, off the bat reveal that. It's they need conflict in the film because they need conflict. There's no organic reason for it to be there.
It's all what's that I'm searching for? It's all very
contrived.
It's very contrived. Everything about this is kind of cliched and contrived and rote and trite. Like the conversation they have in bed.
Both of them.
Yeah, it's awful when it's talking about like, oh, remember that time we had sex because you woke up in the middle of the night? Because he said like, how could you possibly be pregnant? She's just revealed it.
Yeah,
but like, well, of course, just the conversation doesn't feel organic and real. Like that's, and then when she's talking about like women in pregnancy and men in relationships with pregnant, it's just like none of it feels like anybody who's got any actual kind of life experience or ever thought about.
It feels like teenagers.
How anybody else? Yes, exactly. Yes.
It feels like teenagers talking about, and the way she starts like almost giving him a blowjob while she's making a painting and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think Kate Beckinsale and Matthew McConaughey are two of the most beautiful people ever to grace the planet Earth.
Yeah. Particularly at this point in their lives as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, look, they're absolutely stunning. But their chemistry is not there.
No,
I think Kate Beckinsale is not really giving it. I like her a lot. I do really like her, but I think this performance is lacking. Especially,
she's a bit Mila Jovovich for me. She's good at one thing, or something. I'm not even necessarily sure what that thing is. She's not good here at all. It's all very, it's all very breathy.
Yeah,
everything I say is like this.
I
hated it.
Yeah, it's the very like ingenue type thing where it's like, she still like swears and stuff. She has this alternative, like the fashion is wild. She's
particularly one fashion choice, which we definitely will talk about.
Definitely. There's there's definitely some references to some of the films going on, I think, in this, especially in regards to Kate Beckinsale's hair at one point. But there's and the fake tattoos are fucking shocking.
Yeah.
I could do a better transfer. Just get a bit of spit on it. Get one out of those, candy packets. Just rub it on.
Sticks,
the candy sticks. One just rub them on. It'd look far better than the ones they do in this film. Bizarre, but the moment where I thought she was really poor was during their argument at the party. Like Oldman, the twin that's somehow 11 years older than Matthew McConaughey.
No. And Pete Dinklage was right there, and I don't know if you looked this up. Peter Dinklage is 6 months older than McConaughey. So we've already broken that kind of, and I guess 2002. I hear what Oldman's saying. Perhaps it isn't as a big a deal to cast, a average height person as a little person.
Sure.
We are looking at this through the lens of 2025, and that has changed. But just even the age difference is absolutely ridiculous,
astronomical.
There's a few months between Dinklage, who is a little person, McConaughey, that would have worked great.
Yeah.
It's not like they make McConaughey and Oldman look like each other in any way whatsoever.
No, it looks totally different. And
it's mad.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. When I told Nathan and Hannah we were watching this, they were like, oh my God, I have heard of this. And I was like, yeah, you definitely have. And like the fact that we were going to watch Snow White, I think is quite prevalent as well. Because it's quite controversial film that came out when it really shouldn't be. There's a lot of issues behind the scenes and other stuff. But one of the issues that came up when they announced they were going to do it, when it had its original title, which was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they were like, Pete Dinklage made a post and he said, "Oh, really? We're doing this again?" type post, which I felt was unfair of him, because me as a jobbing actor who once had to live on £25 a show, £25 a day, that was my income for a little while, which is, I could never do that now. I could barely do it then. I certainly couldn't afford to do it now. But like when people are like fighting tooth and nail for jobs, and then extrapolate that and intensify that for someone who's a little person, like there was a documentary show a while back about the little people living together doing a panto. They were doing Snow White.
Yeah.
Really great show. Lovely. Again, normalizes far more than this fucking film ever could, and portrays them in a much little people in much more sensible and normal fashion. But him making that statement, ultimately, Disney panicked, and they said, right, we're not going to do that. And then ultimately, 7 people have lost jobs because of it. 7 people who do not have the money, the power, the influence, the privilege to choose what they want to do and when they want to do it that Peter Dinklage has. And I had a problem with that. And not only did I have a problem with that, when I made that statement, I was talking to my friends about that. I was like, I disagree with this. Again, the whole little person community came out with daggers for him. And I think it is unfair. And then Disney tried casting very diverse people in the role of Sleepy, Sneezy, Angry Doc, and all that. And there was one little person in that grouping. And then they threw that out, and then they just made them CGI creatures in the end. Right. And that was again one of many controversies that I'm sure we could get into, and that's a whole nother podcast. But it's wild to think that. Again, he probably wanted the spotlight at this time, probably needed the spotlight at this time. And again, this is what we were talking about with Gary Oldman. If he didn't do it, this film isn't being made. These people aren't being paid, And you've got actors in there from Twin Peaks. You've got actors in there from Total Recall. Like they've been in like decent stuff, big budget stuff. And there's probably more that I'm not even thinking of. And like the, it's like some people will say this is the black face of little people, is what Gary Oldman is doing, and people are entitled to that opinion. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but again, I can understand. To quote A Train from The Boys. Not he's the best character to quote from. You don't fuck with the money. Never fuck with the money. Yeah, sure. It's people's income. That's the first thing people are going to come for you, is when you fuck with their money when you don't need to. And that's what Peter Dinklage did. He fucked with the money, and that's why people came for him. And that's it. And I don't dislike him. I think he's a good actor. I'm actually kind of looking forward to his Toxic Avenger movie. I will go see it. I'm not that strongly against him, but I did think that was a big mistake. I think he had a progressive message he was trying to get across. I don't think he realized what he would do or how that would affect the community. By saying that, I think he was doing a positive thing, or trying to do a positive thing for the little people community, but I think it backfired massively.
It's a bit misjudged, unfortunately. Much, to get back on the topic of the movie, much like this.
Sorry.
Misjudged. Yes. No, not at all. No, it was great.
sorry. It was a rant I wanted to get out. I just thought it was important, and I think it is. Again, I think it's very relevant considering we were to watch Snow White, and then we make them watch this, and he's in it and in this, and there's connective tissue there. But please.
And the fact that he's happy to defend this is quite. I mean, I don't know how happy he is anymore to defend it. To be honest, but he certainly was for a while. You're right. Yeah. And defending the casting of Gary Oldman. I mean, I think I wrote down the quote that he said, which was, "I have my own opinions about political correctness, but I was just like, it's Gary Oldman. He can do whatever he likes."
I don't know how French people feel about his accent.
Oh, it was French, was it? Oh la la, mais oui. Ooh.
I was when we were watching, me and Nathan Hannah were watching along, and it was like I was doing an impression going en French, very stereotypical, over the top French accent. And then he later on he goes in the film, he goes en French. I was like, oh Christ. Like you're literally doing it. We're writing this bad script for you, Oh yeah, bizarre. Like Nathan made the comment. He was like, I thought we got rid of this subplot of just Patricia Arquette. Yeah. And Peter Dinklage must have been like, I'm getting paid for this, and I get to get off with Patricia Arquette every day, and like roll around with her. What a great job. That's probably why I liked it so much. I probably would have liked it too. But
fair enough.
Like it's a subplot because Nathan was like, "Why do we keep going back to them?
That goes nowhere." Yeah, it's pointless.
It's not funny. It's just them just rubbing on each other like the whole time, and it's not adding anything. It's not humorous. It's not developing their character. All they do is kind of just happen to fall in love, and they're two very problematic, kind of sort of problematic people, in their own right. But yeah, it's just a weird addition that just seems to keep cropping up.
Agreed. Yeah. Like they crop up towards in that final section you're talking about, that last 20 minutes. But also there's that really weird moment when they're in the park making out and the camera is on a wide shot and there's kids playing Frisbee in the background and they are full on like giving it some in the park with each other. Like, as you said, like rolling around.
Properly uncomfortable. Yeah, it felt a bit intrusive.
12-year-olds playing Frisbee over there, calm it down.
Like, this is not appropriate. This isn't the place. But also him, just rolling around with a gun for no reason is probably quite inappropriate. And also those cornrows aren't probably that appropriate on either of them as well. If we're gonna cancel people for something, it'd probably be that. I think.
Yeah. Very odd, wasn't it? And as you said, they bring in the idea of him having like ulcers and all this kind of stuff that goes nowhere.
That I like because it's going like this isn't just look how twee and cute little people are. It's like, no, it's a condition. It's serious. It has effects. You have to have drugs. You have to have surgeries. You can still have physical problems. And it's like oh shit, fucking hell! It's a real person with a real world. Being a little person has real world implications. It's not just, I'm just a bit shorter than everyone else. It has physical, mental health effects that will affect you for the rest of your life till the day you die. And I like that. I liked that because that was like, that's real. That's something. They're saying something. They're giving us something that I didn't know or wasn't that aware of, these kind of issues that they could have. And again, it's legitimizing and normalizing that world and that lived experience. Again, talking about them having Matthew McConaughey being involved in a circle jerk of little people.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Is
I'd love to see that. It's
Carol. Yeah, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you honestly talking about? And they're talking about being teenagers and 15 years old and fucking and stuff like that. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't like be like, oh, look at these people and the way they suffer and the prejudice they must feel and how they're looked down upon and how people have to bend over and kneel down or patronize them. But then they go, oh yeah, but all these. It's like Todd Browning's Freaks. Remember that? It's like, oh yeah, they're a bit strange. You can't have it like that. It's not. It's not fair. One, it's not fair and not right. But also in the context of this film, it is offensive, effectively.
I mean, even you were talking about the moment with McConaughey dancing. I wasn't even quite sure there, like how I felt because he's doing a weird kind of like chicken dance, and he is getting down low, but it almost felt like. That almost felt like kind of, is that just awful or is that offensive? Is that kind of patronizing in the way that he's almost mimicking the body shape, like the way he's tucking his arms in?
I didn't think about that.
When he was dancing, I was almost like, oh, okay, that's almost a little bit on the line. I couldn't quite decide myself.
Yeah, we're finding even more offensive things as we dig into TipToes.
Whilst we're talking about stature, it's a word which we should be using tonight. Let's talk about Gary Oldman then and his stature and his
wow
the way that they decide to style him and give him makeup. And
I have to say, Gary Oldman is one of my favorite actors.
I'm right there with you
of all time. A transformative, imaginative, creative. Whatever role he films, he is always like almost. If he's not a 9, he's a 10. I think in most roles, I think, and clearly for him, he's seen this as an opportunity. And one of my offensive acting employers once said, playing somebody that's very, very, very different from you, Dan, is an acting challenge. And I went, oh, is it? Is it? Is it? I see. I see what you're thinking there. How your thinking is. That was the same company that paid me £25 a show.
Yeah, right.
So
That sounds about right.
I will not name them, but I hope they're not in business anymore. But he's incredible, and I wondered what Alabama would have said or could have said
nice.
when she re-met with Drexel, which is another questionable role for Gary Oldman, I guess.
I guess so,
but he is a white guy in that. He's a white guy pretending to be a black guy. So
that's deliberate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a deliberate choice. So so it's not him actually being a little person. Oh dear. Gary says that it's a really good makeup job, and I'm like, I don't know if it is.
Now, this is interesting because no, it's not. It's fucking awful. The hump it changes sizes when he's sat on the sofa.
I'm pretty sure it changes.
He's in the sofa and with the
fake legs.
Fake legs are so bad.
Fucking so bad.
That video, somebody has very cleverly re-edited it. That's him talking about The Darkest Hour. That's his makeup as Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour.
Oh, shit.
Some clever little internet sod has reappropriated those comments.
The
tiptoes.
I thought, you know what? They got me. They got me.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I was like, surely this isn't the same thing. But I was like, now, because it was like Film 4, and I was like,
yeah,
he wouldn't interview him on Film 4. No one fucking do it. Nobody's fucking interviewing for Tiptoes. No one's showing Tiptoes on Film 4, and
nobody's showing Tiptoes.
They got me. I'll hold my hands up. They bamboozled me. But
I mean, it didn't even get released, did it? There's no box office. There's no budget. There's nothing for this film.
There was a 150-minute cut that was shown. Speaking of problematic people, Harry Knowles did a Buttonomathon, I think it was. 150-minute cut. Then the director was fired, and then the studio edited this. And that's why that's probably why we get. I think it probably needed to be 2 hours or at least an hour 45 or an hour 50 to get. I mean, I don't think it would have been a masterpiece anyway, but no, I think we would have released. It would maybe have tonally made a bit more sense and stuff. But the thing is as well, as far as I'm aware, from the research I've done, which is very little. No pun intended. That the type of genetic, I think we say dwarfism. Do we say dwarfism or whatever the politically correct term is? I'm sorry, I don't know it. But the condition, let's say, that they're talking about that a baby could potentially inherit is not actually a genetic trait. It's not something that's passed on genetically, apparently.
That part's not accurate in the movie. Yeah.
But also,
shocker, this movie isn't accurate.
Shocker, they've done no research.
You've done more research than Matthew Bright did in writing this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, even the thing is, you've got people on the set, man. You've got people there, and you know what? They could just and it happens. Like I think Donnie Yen added some stuff to the latest John Wick because they were like, "Oh, this is an offensive stereotype. Can we not do this? Can we do? We wouldn't say that." Great, absolutely, fucking do that, and well done for them for taking that on board and listening and going, fucking great. He had the opportunity. He could have gone, Peter Dinklage, you're in a lot of this movie. Tell me what's the lived experience. Tell me, how can we make this better? What's more accurate? What can we add? Like, can we add a Matthew McConaughey? Oh, my dad was having sex when he died into the film. Can we add something like that? There's, you've got like such and these actors have been in the, again, you're talking about people who work with David Lynch, so been in the industry for a real long time, or the woman from Total Recall. There's lived experience there. Like we talk about, like Denzel Washington talks about having a director that is culturally attuned to the project, being on board. I think they were being asked about if a white director directed this or a black director, does it matter? And he goes, yes. And there is that as well here, where you could have done something or said something. And what if maybe if it is let's say it's a fantasy, if it's not fact, let's steer into the fact that it's not fact. Why don't we give Gary Oldman a specific fictional form or condition that is not anywhere else in the world. It does not exist. It's fictional, and that would explain why he's not quite in proportion with everybody else. When he's a because again, like the arms aren't right. You know, his posture isn't right. You know. Like
they give him a cane, don't they? Because he's walking on his knees. I mean, yes, everybody is that. It is that embarrassing, is what they've done here.
Really bad.
Stuck shoes on his knees, on his
CGI. Yeah, CGI. Yeah. They've got him like knelt down inside a couch, and they've got these these very obvious fake legs.
I mean, he's the only one I noticed which has any kind of like physical deformity. He has the hump.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's been put on because of his weird angles he's got to get into that, because I think they pinned his arms back a bit.
Yeah, they did. Which, but then, like when he stood next to his girlfriend, you can really tell. Like you just look at the size of his hands and things like that. It's just and they give him these jam jar glasses for some reason. They give him this kind of like, and I was like, is it supposed to be funny? Like he's a nerd or something because he's a writer? I don't know. I don't know what that's adding. I don't know what's that.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah,
it's one of those movies which is just, listen, it's full of issues, it's full of problems, sure. Forget the kind of lens of now to then. It was full of problems then anyway.
Yeah,
it's just from the ground up, everything is bad. It's not just like we could spend the next hour, and we still can. I'm not saying let's stop. We could spend the next hour talking about all these issues, and they're all there, and they're going to be prevalent forever. But also, you know, the script is bad. The filmmaking is bad. The cinematography is bad. The sound quality is bad. It's so amateurish. Like everything about this, which is why I think you and I feel the same. It's not just topically bad. It's just a shit-made film as well.
It's a shit-made film on top of everything that's offensive about it, which there is a lot, and we could focus on that.
Yeah,
I think it's good that we tackled it up front because then
I agree.
We can get into the movie. But yeah, you are correct. I've got to talk about that fucking weird phone call as well they have.
Oh yeah, well, between Becca Carroll and McConaughey.
McConaughey. So,
yeah.
This is a thing Hannah and Nathan brought up. They're like, "What is she doing?" She's like, very breathy.
Yeah, it's like a sex call. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And they're
like phone sex call. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I met your brother. Oh, went to meet the family.
Do it as well, don't they?
But yeah, it's like a sexy like noir film, or like a David Lynch thing where like really they're zooming in, and then he's in a very dimly lit backwoods kind of area
type. Yeah.
With his little flip phone, his 2000s flip phone out, and he's like, talking. He's like, yeah, what's happened? Yeah, great, whatever. Don't really care anyway. Don't know why I rang anyway. Then throws his phone into the woods and then proceeds to hook up with the tallest woman he can find, which is again offensive in its own right. And then he decides to bring that woman home and another woman
to the party,
to his pregnant fiance's party with all of his friends and family.
It's his uncle's party, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. And I was just like, what is this fucking scene? What does it have to do with anything?
It's absolutely perfect to pick out because I did as well. I couldn't understand any of the choices there. Her lips were all rouge and wet, and the angles.
If you call me in the middle of the night, there's no way I'm sounding like that, and I'm gonna have like dribble down myself. I might fart as I wake up. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do it. I'm sure Mike can tell you some stories from Forbidden World. But
in terms of the party, I do wonder if that's some of that missing 45 minutes. Though.
Oh, there's definitely, you can tell there's stuff missing. Like
because
Superman 4.
You're right. He brings those two women to the party. It's really weird. They walk in and they're like, oh, that guy's famous. There's another, I don't know what the right term is, like normal sized. I'm sorry if that's offensive.
When
we're saying little people and average guys, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever the term is.
There. And he's famous. He's a celebrity, so they rush over to see him and they're never seen again. And then he leaves the
David
party.
David Alan Grier from Jumanji and among other things. A lot of comedy stuff he does. He was in one of my films I really like, Tales from the Hood. He plays like an abusive dad. Okay. Against Type plays an abusive dad, like a physically abusive dad. It's really good. Very very Twilight Zone. Really cool set of anthology horror film. But yeah, like he turns up at the start of the convention and he's wearing this horrible wig.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, a lot of that has been cut. I think he has like he'll have like a comedy thing, but he's just like, oh, I'm at this convention. It's great. And he's somehow at this party. This is another thing I wanted to talk about. Gary Oldman's on and off, on again girlfriend, who is very promiscuous, and takes pity on a guy who's been kicked out of Gaza apparently.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we even talking about? And then later on they have a Jewish wedding and they're bringing up Israel, and I was like, come on, please give us one moment where you can't be cancelled over this film for Christ. You're not helping yourself. And then he was like, he's like, she's talking to him. She's like, oh, I think you're a bit old for me. And he's like, old? Oh, he's wearing this horrible wig and stuff. And it's like, it's almost like a character out of an Eddie Murphy film. Coming to America or something like that. But
in the barbershop. Yeah.
But we never see him do or say anything funny. He's just like, incidentally just there. And then now this is a huge party they're having, patio doors, everyone's walking around. There's an argument in the kitchen they have, which is
horribly shot,
terribly, and also nobody is intervening during this argument. Everyone's just laughing at it, and which is odd. And then David Alan Grier is about to shag Gary Oldman's on again girlfriend in the middle of this party.
In the midst of, I think. Actually.
Yeah, he's actually already begun. And again, everybody can see him. There's people in that room, and Gary Oldman's going, I'm leaving. I want to go home. Let's go home. And he finds them. And I'm like, what? Is this kind of like a swinger thing? Like, what is, like, these are all family members for the most part, family members and friends of different ages, from what I can tell. It's not like a sex party or something. You can tell how many of those I've been to. It was just bizarre. And again, she's talking about how she dumps this guy and he beats up Gary Oldman, and they're very on again, off again, very fractious relationship. But then she's like, I'm making an effort. We're going to be in an adult relationship. And Gary Oldman's like, I'm going to give it another go. And then she's just like, I'll just shag this weird guy in a toupee in front of all of my friends and family, basically. For everyone to see.
It's where that original raunchy comedy stuff, isn't it? Or like that zaniness. Like if this was done by somebody like Ivan Reitman,
yes,
he'd get that balance right. Now something like Twins.
I think
you're right. That movie where you've got Danny DeVito and Arnie, and how they play off the comedy in that, and it has some kind of darker moments, and it has the idea of Danny DeVito's character in debt, isn't he? And you've got kind of the gangsters chasing him, and it does kind of crazy stuff, that movie. But because he knows what he's doing, because he can shape a script and he knows how to direct that.
Exactly,
it was a massive blockbuster. It did really well, and kind of still holds up fairly well.
Yeah. I think so.
I would say.
Yeah, I've seen
they're
it.
Still trying to do triplets, aren't they? With
apparently
with Eddie Murphy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I'm still not sold whether that. It depends who's doing it and the money, but no, I think you're right though. I think
the hands of the wheel, unfortunately, here are just. They're cocked.
Not great, and that's it. It's the like we talked about it with Ed TV. Though I said before we started that Ed TV is looking back on that's an absolute masterclass compared to this. But yeah, it's the tonal thing. It's like it's like we talked about before, this unearned sentimentality and saccharine sweetness that there is. They want that here. Yeah, and it never really earns it, and the comedy is never quite as funny as it should be.
Oh, it's never funny, yeah.
And then the melodrama isn't doing anything for me.
No, and that third act forced like love triangle shit. None of that works. Yeah. I don't buy that. Well, I mean, we said McConaughey and Beckinsale don't really have any chemistry, which is very odd. McConaughey and Oldman have no chemistry either as brothers. Oldman and Beckinsale have no chemistry. Probably quite unsurprisingly, if I'm honest. Yeah. So none of those things are working, because it's not just quite a romantic love triangle, is it? It's the idea of the brothers are falling out of their kind of brotherly love as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just none of the elements fit together. It's that whole square peg round hole thing, where like everything's being forced, and it feels, I'm sure there was a better cut in there. I'm sure it probably is a better movie. I will never know, because I will never watch it.
Apparently, our old friend Wyndin Refn is a fan of the film and has seen the original cut and hopes that one day it will get a proper release. We can't even get a fucking Schumacher cut that exists, that is there, is ready to go. But Warner Brothers is again playing dicks with everything.
There's no saving this. There's these tonal problems will still be there. The lack of chemistry
it'll still be a bad film.
Still the same writing and the same directing, which all the way through is amateurish and
really bad.
There's no surprise this guy never got to make another movie, and it's not just because of the failure of this film. It's because he is not any good at it. Sorry, I know that's a little bit. Sorry, Matthew Bright, if you ever hear this, but
all the Matthew Bright stands are kicking off, Jack.
Yeah,
they're really kicking off.
Sometimes you just got to say it, right? This is just bad. There's nothing about this feels like it's come from somebody who knows what they're doing.
No, it's not coming from a genuine place.
No, that's true.
I think they've gone. I've got this premise. Let's go. I've got this idea.
Yeah,
let's try them. And I think that is it. I think, again, like you said, not really maybe done the research, not met people, not worked things out. Again, it gave people jobs, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the film is a failure on every level. It is not good on any metric that we discern. There are moments. There's like a little bait and switch with the families meeting, which I think actually kind of worked.
Yeah, other than the fact that Carol was really pissed off that Steve, this is Kate Beckinsale and Matthew McConaughey, that he didn't tell her, rightly so, as we've established, but then she then doesn't tell her mum and dad. What has she not learned from her experience? Her mum and dad turn up for this family meeting and she hasn't told them they're little people.
I feel like she's testing them though, because she's like because she starts off and she's very mad about this situation because she didn't know and now she's fallen pregnant. If you don't know the plot to this film, guys, Matthew McConaughey, a fireman, a trainer of fire people, has knocked up his beautiful artist girlfriend, Kate Beckinsale. He is the twin and has a family of little people, and his twin, Gary Oldman, historically not a little person. He plays a little person in this. His twin.
All the same age as McConaughey.
Yes, exactly.
My twin was born before me. Yes, 11 years.
Yeah, we're only 11 years apart. So that's basically the plot. He's freaking out. He's freaking out because he's like, oh my god, it's a kid, and then they may have this condition. Because I genetically come from that family, so I could potentially pass it on. And that's the inherent drama. Supposed drama in this. And they've just.
So do you mean the bait and switch is when you think?
Yeah, sorry. I'll go back to that.
About the fact that
so they bring him in, but then they go, right, we need to talk about it. Mm-hmm. We need to talk about this. The elephant in the room. We need to talk about it. And Mum's like, Kate Beckinsale's like, oh my god, Mum, don't do it. And the dad's like, well, we've got to talk about it. Oh, it's very serious. And you think they're going to have the same fucking conversation we've been having throughout this entire film about the genetics and the medical problems and blah, 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 which they've had 3 or 4 times by this point. And then they go, actually, my grandfather's an Orthodox Jew, and he won't come to the wedding unless it's a Jewish wedding or at least a civil service. and Matthew McConaughey is like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's have it. And everyone's like, oh, thank God. And, there's like the jokes being made. That was the only moment that felt kind of sort of genuine or had like a little bit like they knew what they were doing. Mm. But a lot of it just falls absolutely flat. There's a moment where Gary Oldman is, trying to put Kate Beckinsale at ease and brings the family and meets them and sets up this network for her to kind of understand. And then, again, there's a nice moment where she's like, oh God, you must think I'm awful because I'm worried that my child is going to be like you. I must seem awful to you. I must seem so bigoted. And Gary Oldman's like, no, we're all,
the rest of the family, aren't they? They're all like, no, we get it.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah. You want to care for your
easy
child.
Life. Yeah,
exactly. And we understand, and it's a big decision, and blah blah blah. And they don't really ever talk about. They kind of talk about not keeping the baby, but they don't ever go too far down that track. Really, I think McConaughey's like, because he keeps going, let's adopt. Let's adopt, as opposed to let's abort or anything like that, because I think that could be problematic as well. There's enough problematic stuff already, but there's a lot going on here, but I think that's quite a genuine moment, I think, there. But then when Gary Oldman's like, we're all you can have a functional and happy life, and he's like, look at all of us, and then they just like nervously laugh, and I was like, what is that? What are you nervously laughing about? That you're not happy? That you don't have a normal life? Isn't that the whole point of this film? Is that you have normal lives? Isn't that what the message of the film is? That you can live these lives?
I'm glad that you found a message, because
I mean, it's muddled. It's fucking muddled. I'll tell you that. It's hard. You gotta sift through and move a few fucking horny Peter Dinklages out of the way to find it.
I mean, McConaughey as well. I mean, when he goes in for those kisses with Kate Beckinsale, my lord, he is going for the tonsils. He is.
I mean, kind of don't blame him, but but yeah, like you got to give it. You're acting. You got to give it. Both barrels.
They're the bits when he was really like getting method. I think was the kissing scenes. The rest of it, he didn't give a shit about.
He's like, so method. I'm so method. I'll be method. I've been method on my Dragon movie, so I'm going to be method on the TipToes movie as well. Bizarre. Like I can't. It's shocking how unlikable McConaughey is.
Oh, yeah, massively.
Like,
the scene when he's training the firefighters, and it's like something out of Full Metal Jacket, isn't it? Like the way he's talking to them, which he does get called out on. Yeah, but because he's pissed off as well. But yeah, all of his scenes
that woman still forgives him and goes off to effectively shag him because he and again throws his phone so callously into the fucking woods. After being like, I love you, we're going to be good, and looking forward to the baby, and Rolf's there, and I'm jealous of Rolf now for some reason that he's in the living. He is like the worst, all the epitome of like, we talk about all these problematic male, stereotypes and toxic males and toxic masculinity, manosphere, and Andrew Tate, fucking people like that. Like this is like. Someone's bottled that and given it to a certain group and just drunk this down. They were like, I'm going to just be like Matthew McConaughey is in this. Just treat everybody like fucking shit. It's remarkable how much I disliked the character. Again, I as an actor, I can see him trying. He is fighting for his life to make this character work. On paper, he is absolutely fighting, and you can see him trying to connect the dots and like, how did he get to this point? What happened? How do you? He's almost like bipolar or schizophrenic or something. It's that. He switches like that. It's absolutely like snapping. He goes like, oh yeah, love you, Rolf. Let's have a drink. And then I think you're an asshole and you don't know what you're talking about and you judging me. And he has the same sort of conversations, but they just come out of nowhere. And you're like, who the fuck is this guy? How can you be this caring, loving, doting uncle, cousin, nephew, and then be this complete raging fucking like narcissist? With like self-hatred, and like I think that it's an interesting topic. Like if you say, for example, you had a mixed race couple who have a mixed race child, and maybe the father is a white guy and doesn't know how to, or has some like unconscious biases that he has to fight against or overcome, or go into therapy to look into, or like wondering why he's having these issues or having these outbursts or something like that. Like there is something there is like a grain of an idea.
Definitely. There's a really fascinating line in the last season of Buffy, and obviously let's not reference that other problematic white guy, but there's a scene in the last season when it's actually a vampire character says to her, you've got a superiority complex and you've got an inferiority complex about having a superiority complex. And that's fascinating. And you're like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, and it's really true. It's a really good line. That could be, you could apply that to Stephen here, this sense of he feels superior to all the rest of his family because he is quote unquote normal and he can live a normal life and he can choose to dip in and out of the little people world. And then for him to then be struggling with that and to then feel inferior in many ways and to feel left out of that world because he's not, what an interesting movie that would be. But that's a movie that I've just imagined in the last few minutes whilst you and I have been talking. It is not The movie
it is not TipToes. It will never. TipToes will never be. Again, there's germs of ideas in a lot of films, and and they never grow into a deadly virus of a film, let's say. But there's something to be said for that, and I think the heart, a bit like Zulu, the heart. I think the heart is in the right place, pretty much. But everything around and the people behind the camera and in front of the camera, I think their hearts are in the right place.
Sure, yeah.
I think everything else around it and the topics and the way they're handled is the problematic stuff. I think.
Yeah. And the film became because they wanted it to be a quote-unquote rom-com, didn't they? With a classic kind of love triangle and all that stuff. I do have to ask you a question, though. Speaking of like hating Stephen, I agree. I hate Stephen too. He's a complete twat. Which is hard to say when it's McConaughey. But I guess in some ways, despite how bad this film is and he's doing his best, it still kind of tells you how good he is, that we do hate him and we do forget about all his charm and his usual charisma. Do you hate Stephen more or do you hate Kate Beckinsale's hat more? Because I tell you what, I hate Stephen, but I really hate that hat as well.
The wee Willy Winky hat.
Yeah, the like Scrooge wears Wally style. It also reminded me of I can't think what the character's called, like the wizard in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah,
the wizard
kind of like the sock
in the animated one.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah, but that kind of sock, kind of hat. Yeah, or Merlin in the Disney Sword in the Stone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It kind of takes all of the seriousness out of that scene as well.
Massively. And that's the scene when she comes to confront him about...
very distracting.
Him not telling her about this massive deal.
Yeah, and she's using the outdated... Like, if you were so, again, why is he correcting her if he has this absolute deep, resounding, like, problem? His own, again, neuroses and issues. Why would he be like, oh, don't say the wrong word. Don't be progressive. You're going to get cancelled.
It's just to feel superior in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
He's trying to turn it on her, isn't he? That's that whole gaslighting as well.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking, he's awful, isn't he? He really is fucking awful.
Did you read about the hat, though? There is a reason why she's wearing it.
I did. Please tell me more about this.
So she is working for... like SAG, whatever. I think that's the right.
Of course, there was a strike. There was a strike on.
So she's working for like minimum wage.
Yeah.
Like, but she said she'd do that. Go on.
Yeah, didn't do her hair or wouldn't pay for her hair to be done?
No. She said she would do it for like minimum wage. She would like turn up and do this role if she's allowed to wear her lucky hat in one scene.
Good Lord.
I was telling you, that is her lucky hat. That is why...
Didn't fucking work, did it? Didn't fucking
why
work.
Is her lucky hat? I do not know.
Not anymore. Why
they let her wear it for that scene of all? Wear it for the blowjob scene. Yeah. I don't know.
The party. I think in the party. Oh, the bedroom, for fuck's sake! It's a bed hat.
Well,
it's a bed hat. You could wear it in any of those situations. God. And you could just take it off when it gets fucking serious, you know?
It's just such a small thing that's so symptomatic of the problems, which is like, yeah, go on then, that'll do.
Yeah.
And nobody said to him, no. Well, they did actually. The producer said to him, we can't use this scene. She has to take that off. And he said, no, because I've agreed to it. So again, sort of says a lot to me about the fact that he wasn't really in control here. He didn't, that's an element that is so small, but also so important because the tone is completely lost immediately. Yeah. So there was the control just wasn't there. Like we're laughing and it's, I look it up. It's the worst hat. Honestly, it's about the worst hat you could imagine.
The movie is on YouTube several times, so it's not like it's hard to find if you want to find it. It's wild. And Patricia Arquette's wardrobe is just as crazy as well, just as bloody mad.
She's basically dressed as Christina Aguilera in the Dirty video.
She is.
That's kind of it, isn't it?
I think that came out around the same time, so it makes sense. Another thing I noticed is the guy who runs the motel. He's a Spanish comedian, I think, or Mexican comedian. And I realized this came out in 2002 because I spoke about this on the Van Helsing podcast I did. There's a scene right at the end of the Blade 2 film about the Peep Show, and I had a not safe for work trivia thing that I gave Sarah on during that podcast. And I realized I was like, you know what? I could be watching Blade 2.
Yeah, sure.
Instead of TipToes twice. double the pain. The pain.
When's Van Helsing? That's a couple of years after this, isn't it?
It is, yeah, not long. 2004. So she's stepped up in the world from TipToes.
Well,
she's got her high heels on now.
It's not hard, is it?
No. I think we have to talk about the other love story. Obviously, throughout this, Matthew McConaughey, they kind of reconcile, get back together. They agree they're going to try. They're going to give it a go. They've got all the books. They know all the people. They know the doctors, the hospitals they need to speak to. They're going to try.
A little person's hospital, by the looks of it, later in the film.
Yeah, that's right. And then,
does that exist? I mean, if it does, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Another thing is, unfortunately, another problematic thing is I don't think the baby in it is.
Oh my god!
Is a little person.
Is
baby.
It even a baby? Because most of the time, the way they're flinging that plastic doll around, it's more fake than the bloody legs in the sofa.
That was another thing that Hannah and Nathan brought up. And to be fair, Hannah and Nathan are, they're expecting another child, and I've got a few other friends that have had a lot of issues with having babies and stuff. So I think the worry and the concern of
they're
this,
sensitive to that. Yeah,
they were like, oh, this is actually quite. I can understand this. I understand the plight that the characters are in. Like we can live this. We are living this, and we we had troubling births and things. So that's completely understandable. And they do decide. Everyone kind of settles all their beef seemingly. I do like Matthew McConaughey's uncomfortable duvet acting in the bed scenes that he has. Every time he's like, Kate Beckinsale says something he doesn't quite like, he's like, oh. It just kind of turns, like it just ruffles the satin sheets and then turns away, and that's
very huffy.
That's him,
like Kevin the teenager,
sexy upset. Oh, I didn't like what you just said. That kind of thing going on. but as this like I said, we get about an hour or so in. The film effectively ends, which I think is probably where the film should end, really. But then we get like a fan-forced time jump when the baby's born.
Yeah.
McConaughey is in absolute dire straits. He's stressed out. He's sweating. His eyes are bloodshot. He's punching the wall. And he's like, oh my God, my child has been born with this condition. And that's the thing he pulls up. He's like, stop saying condition, say this. You haven't said, you've kept saying condition. You're not saying little person or whatever word he uses in the film. And like he's like freaking out, like he looks like he's on drugs or something. And the guy's like, just get some therapy, you weirdo. Like, just get some things. Like, therapy, which again is 2002. So it's probably like, if you said you tell someone to get therapy, they thought they were insane or crazy. Which I think in this film he is crazy. I think he has one of these problems because they never explain or never give us an idea or an insight to why he feels like this. There's never an insight.
No.
Even just a moment of him talking about it, and he's like, I don't talk about my feelings. And I was like, I don't need you to talk about it all day, every day. Give me just a nugget or something that I can like go, because I want to understand the character, like Magneto killing everybody, but then not knowing his backstory. It's not really that interesting, but his backstory and you go, oh, I see, you kind of get it. So that's kind of what I needed in the film. I feel like that was what ended up on the cutting room floor. And that's why he seems so like, again, the film is schizophrenic and, all over the place in itself. But yeah, we have that, and they're trying to live their life and care for their child, Vincent. And they really struggle, and their kind of relationship falls apart. And then they decide to separate. Beckinsale goes off to live with Gary Oldman in the woods with Maurice, which is Peter Dinklage character, and Patricia Arquette. And slowly but surely, Rolf helps. He's making decent money now because he's got a syndicated writing job. Yeah, everyone grows a bit closer, and Matthew McConaughey turns up, tries to reconcile.
In what seems like about 2 nights, by the way.
Yeah,
but yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, it's like it feels like. Yeah, I don't know how much time has passed. Like he brings the baby out and cares for the baby and settles the baby while Beckinsale is sleeping. He's like, "Oh, I thought you could do the rest," even though she's come downstairs directly after him picking up the baby. She's like, she didn't get any rest. She's just coming to watch you hold the baby.
And that is, I know the intention's good, but that is creepy. Creeping in.
Bill, can you imagine waking up and your baby is gone?
Yeah, that's weird.
and you're in a strange house, you're in the woods.
She only survived that day. Yeah, that's
exactly. And like this is the thing as well. So odd choice of odd choices. We get to the end. Matthew McConaughey comes back again. He tries to reconcile one more time, but it's still in his head. This problem is still there. And
it's clear he's just saying what he thinks she wants to hear.
Yeah, so they'll get back together, and it can be cool. But he actually hasn't done any of the work, as my therapist would say. He's not changed. It's the same problem. And Kate Beckinsale rightly says, it's not right. It's not safe. It's not good for our child. This is not an environment I want my child to grow up in. It's not going to work. I love you, but it's not right, which is fair. He goes off, and then kind of out of the blue, Gary Oldman and Kate Beckinsale kiss, and that's where the movie fades to black.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, all the conversations they've had is literally just him going, "This is little people shit. This is how we do this. This is how we do them." And he's nice, but he's just not. He's just.
To be honest,
nice.
I don't know if Rolf is that likable a character, but particularly for that first half an hour, first half of the movie, he's a bit of a dick as well, if I'm honest.
Yeah, twins are similar, I guess.
Well, yeah, I'm not really sure. Fine, he's
not great. He's not great. Like, he's not great, but like I think he's a bit better than McConaughey is in comparison.
Oh, I mean, who isn't? But
he's an angel,
grumpy and
he's
everybody all the time, and
but
like
again, you kind of get that with the medical conditions and the physical problems, and he gets tired a lot, and he's in pain, and he's sit down, and stuff like that. I'll be honest, even when I was probably as old as Gary Oldman was when he was making this film, I don't think I would want to be on my knees all day, every day, acting these scenes out. I don't know what his knees are like now. Christ, they must be like mangled after all that. But yeah, just. Like,
she invites him to kiss, doesn't she? She says, it's okay, Rolf, you can kiss me if you want. And his reaction should be, no, you are my brother's wife.
Bit weird. I love you. And, I love you. And I've done, like, again, like, he says things like, oh, I hope my brother doesn't mess this up. This is, the best thing that's ever happened to him. But that doesn't necessarily imply that he's a romantic option or that they are romantically involved. There's never, like, she looks at him like she cares for him. Like, I've had friends look at me like Kate Beckinsale looks at Gary Oldman.
Well, lucky you.
But yeah, obviously not in that way though. Like, like again in the film, she's trying to, put out that she's in love with him or gonna fall in love with him.
Yeah.
But I don't think we see anything. I don't think we see any reason why. I can see why Gary Oldman falls in love with Kate Beckinsale.
Me too, yeah.
Because I have just watched.
Not her character in this movie, but Kate Beckinsale, the actress.
No, exactly. And she's not. Let's be honest. She's not a great person in this either. She was quite bigoted to begin with when she finds out, the shock of it and stuff. And she gets on a high horse later and stuff about it and things, but yeah, it just comes out of absolute nowhere.
Does. I guess the only hint you have, and I found this a bit weird, is that she does, when she says goodbye at the wedding, and then when she says hello,
kisses him on the lips.
She kisses him on the lips,
directly on the lips. Yeah,
yeah. That I've got in-laws. We don't kiss on the lips.
No,
I'm sure you've got in-laws too. Do you kiss?
I never kissed my brother-in-law on the lips. Never happened.
Oh,
never
his
happened.
loss, Dan. His loss.
I know. I mean, if he wanted to, maybe I'd be up for it. But he's not my brother-in-law anymore. So there you go.
Okay.
So that's. Or did they get? I don't even think they got married. Actually, I think they were just
fair game now, though. Hey,
yeah, I can shag my sister's ex-fiance. Game on. Hope she's listening. Hope he's listening. Call me. We'll do it.
Yeah, but even those moments stood out to me. They're not enough. I agree. I was just they're weird as well. They're totally odd.
Because all he's done is gone, this is my family, this is my life, this is what you need to know. This is like, it's just like, it reminds me of True Blood when that relationship I get, but also, he was an exposition machine, Bill, in that show.
Yeah,
he was Suki, the thing about vampires is, that in every episode, 2 or 3 times an episode, the thing you don't get about vampires is, and he, again, off on that was my like gag when we used to watch it. I was like, just wait for him to do some exposition about vampires in 2 seconds because we don't know about vampires. He's got to tell the audience. But yeah, it again fades to black. There's no real resounding. It doesn't. It feels a bit icky. I think
it
is
does.
the feeling.
Yeah.
It feels icky and wrong and odd. And there's
I guess they want it to be like the two that should be together have got together, but you're right, it doesn't feel.
And she does ask.
Closer.
She does ask about like, have you ever done any like? That's when the circle jerk comment comes in. Which when, have you ever been sexual with a little person?
She asked that of Stephen. Yeah,
of McConaughey's character, and he's like, oh well, there was just kid stuff, and then I was like, I don't want to know about that. I don't want to know about kid stuff. Don't talk about that now. Don't mention that.
Well, that's when then he goes on. She goes on to make the joke of there being of the circle jerk.
Yeah,
and about how much you'd want to watch it.
Yes.
Would you, Carol? That's odd too.
Yes. That was another line I quite enjoyed where the guy comes in and he doesn't have any money and he's like, don't worry, I'll pay you back in orgasms on your G-spot. Like I was like, what is this? What are these? And Patricia Arquette's line where the asshole is the strongest
muscle in the body.
I'm like, why are we saying these things?
It's true. I mean, looking at Stephen in this movie, the arsehole is the strongest muscle in the body for sure.
God, yeah, that was another line. I was like, I can't believe they fucking put this in. Like again, stereotype after stereotype. It was like Peter Dinklage who goes, "I wish I could have a fucking crepe," and I was like,
he does say that.
I was like, "Fuck me, man, come on."
He's got his imported cough syrup, hasn't he? That he's mixing with vodka or something. I think. Yeah, then he wants to correct.
And he's like this mad Marxist as well. He's like, political power comes out of the barrel of a gun,
and a massive misogynist as well, of course, because it's
fucking at that claim.
Patricia Arquette to get in the kitchen and
you're a Marxist. You're a Marxist, yet you're fucking sexist as well. I don't know how that works. Right? Okay. Yeah. Workers' rights, but women can't work. Get in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Fucking bizarre choices. And then they have that argument, and then they're talking about the political movement of little people because Peter Dinklage is like, oh, you call us little people, it is demeaning, oh, we're so cute and cuddly, we're not real people. And they're like, no, that's not the stereotype we're trying to put out. And then the woman says, they're like, oh, you want us fighting in the streets? We don't do that in America. And I went, I think you do at the moment, America. I think there's a lot of fighting in the streets thanks to a Mr. Trump. But there you have it. But it's fucking bizarre film with bizarre lines. But it's like I was expecting. The reason I chose it because I thought it was going to be so bad it was good.
Yeah.
So bad it was funny. But it's just bad.
It is just bad. I honestly think. I mean. Ratings are what they are. I rated this half a star on Letterboxd, and there's only 5 other films I've ever rated that bad. I genuinely think this is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And it is because it's just take away, as we said, all the topical stuff, which is bad anyway. Of course it is. It's just a bad film. If this was had no little people in it at all, if this was just a film about a man and a woman not being sure whether to keep their baby, and it would still be a terrible movie. So just every element of this I think is awful. The only word I can think of is, and it's not really strong enough, really, the word awful, but there's nothing to recommend the film.
In all of the films you watched so far from McConaughey, and you've watched a lot of bad ones, and we've sat there and we've done them. But where is this so far on your spectrum of bad?
It's the worst. Yeah,
it's the worst. Yeah,
for sure.
I haven't seen half the ones you've covered, but I can agree.
There's no redeeming features whatsoever, and there's been very little. And I was just looking at the list here, like My Boyfriend's Back that Dave and I watched, and Scorpion Spring that Max and I watched. There's very little to recommend there, other than the fact that actually, particularly in Scorpion Spring, McConaughey is really good in the few minutes he's in it.
Sure.
Like here, what half a star is probably too generous, if I'm honest. Like, what am I giving that for? Just because little people got to work, maybe. There's nothing about this. Which...
I've tried. You know what I'm like. I'm always trying to find the diamond in the rough. Aladdin. Even if again, like there are people got to work. There's a gem of an idea or germ of an idea that could work in better hands. Could be interesting, or this attacking this kind of idea or this mental problem that Matthew McConaughey has could be interesting. And again, there are a lot of talented people involved in this, but everything else is a misfire.
Oh, yeah. Because none of them are used properly. Nothing they've got to say has any weight. And even if they are trying themselves, it's so flawed from concept to execution that there's nothing anybody can do, I don't think. This is unsalvageable.
No. There's no way to save this, and we're always trying to fix films, or I'm at least trying to fix films. I'm like, well, if they did this or they did that, I don't think. Again, even with that cut, even with that extra footage, it's still dreadful. It's still 100% not good. It would just be longer. That's the only thing.
Oh my god! And imagine that. But I mean, you're right though. In the right hands, there's something here. I'm not asking for anybody to go and make that in any way whatsoever. Just this is enough. Just leave it at TipToes, and if you're desperate to understand, to see if you really. I
think there should be little person cinema made by little people. Of course, 100%. Do it, please. Remake it but actually give a shit and do something, say something interesting, give us something from that culture that the rest of the world has no idea about. That's what I'm waiting for the next great trans film. I'm waiting for all of these these up and coming filmmakers to hear their voices, and I think that's something I want to hear. That is a voice I want to hear.
I mean, even something like Willow has more to say than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's set in a fantasy realm, and
I think I'd watch the Ewok movies over this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh dear, and that's a sad statement. That's a sad statement coming from me. Oh God, yeah.
Dreadful. Shall we see if people on Letterboxd agree with us?
Please do.
Okay, Helio's review says, "This was Matthew McConaughey's attempt to stop being typecast for rom-coms. I'm sure of it." Which I think is funny, but although comes too early on to be accurately true, because he's only really made one at this point.
True, yeah.
But I guess, maybe trying to curtail that route. And, surprising nobody, McConaughey does name check this, interestingly, in Green Lights, but I'm saving that for a later, because he doesn't say anything about it. He just says, I was in, but I'm saving it for a later episode when he talks more about the films that he's
so he's talking about one film, but referring to
but I was also in TipToes, and I was in this, and I was in this, and I was in this at that time. But I mean, the fact he even mentions it is
a bad film he's comparing it to, I guess.
Good for him. Charlie says Gary Oldman plays a little person. Matthew McConaughey is his twin brother. The father is the little person from Twin Peaks. Peter Dinklage is a French motorcycle riding Marxist misogynist. Patricia Arquette stole Gary Oldman's hair from True Romance. Kate Beckinsale stole Gary Oldman's hair from Dracula. David Alan Grier has sex with a little person porn star, but I don't think she is a porn star, is she?
No, I think she's probably a sex worker at most.
Yeah,
it's never explicit. It's never explicit.
No. Bridget Powers, best movie ever. He actually does rate it 5 stars. I think she does rate it, actually.
Yeah. All of those
rate it 5
they rate it. Sorry, yeah, they rate it. They are wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the statements they've made, those are all factually accurate, but the review itself is
the fact that you like those things is
like is a strong word for them to use.
TipToes, anything left to say?
I don't think so. I watched a few videos around it, and Gary Oldman talking about it. And then a few little people and their opinions on it, and on Peter Dinklage and things like that. But other than that, it's just people reviewing it and going, "Wow, what a shit movie," which it is.
Unfortunately, something to as you brought up this idea of like something to point and laugh at. Unfortunately,
unfortunately,
it really should be something where we could be sitting and saying, "Wow, isn't that helping us to understand this world view?" But it's not. It's the thing people to go like, "Look at this shit film that came out in 2002."
Yeah, exactly. And I think there will be certain corners of the internet which are laughing at it because it's little people, and because of that, I'm sure. But I think there's reviewers out there that are doing it just because it's a fucking awful film.
Agreed. Yeah, I think the majority of stuff that I've seen has been that it's like this.
Yeah, it's just an awfully made film. It's not necessarily the subject matter or the actors or little people in general. It's just fucking atrocious film that just happens to be about little people,
agreed.
Little people, more so than it's bad because little people are in it, because they're not the problem. They're great. All of them are great. Every little person actor is absolutely nailing their role. And I kind of wish we got like Matthew McConaughey talking to his parents,
other than Peter Dinklage, maybe.
Yeah, like, there's so much fucking Peter Dinklage. You didn't need all that. And again, it's the same scene over and over again. And again, a lot of these conversations are the same scene over and over again, the same conversation over and over again. I just wonder what they fucking cut sometimes, because it just feels so repetitive. But yeah, that's a review and a half, which again, factual and not what I would agree with score wise.
Yeah, I mean, look at the timing of our recording. This is rare for you and me to go this short, but there's just really nothing else to say, is there? It's not. Other than us getting into a repetitive cycle of saying the same thing.
Exactly. It's bad. It's offensive. It's bad. It's offensive. It's bad. Matthew McConaughey is not great. No one's great. Nothing is great. Yeah, but there's not much to add. There's not much. I did my research. I've told you the stuff.
Send me some links. Yeah,
some links, some videos I enjoyed, and Matthew McConaughey watching the trailer and laughing at it because he'd never seen it, and and Gary Oldman in the role of a lifetime.
Oh my god, yeah.
They do this really melodramatic version. They do this wacky start and shift into melodrama. But yeah, no, I can't really think of it. I've watched it twice, and I've probably got less to say about than any of the other films we've done previously. On this channel, on your podcasts. I have the least to say, and we've had films that go out on very strange choices, very strange endings as well. And that was a much better film made all around. A very odd choice. I've got some podcasts coming out with Mike on Forbidden Worlds that are going to have some very odd choices in the end as well. So yeah, it does happen. Just very crazy little, not twists, but just like a choice, a strong, solid choice, which is just really odd. But yeah, nothing else I could say about TipToes that hasn't already been said by other people and the stars themselves, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to take a genius to work this out, but classic worth catching or completist only?
Oh, of course, it's a classic. No, it's. I wouldn't even say completist only. I would
avoid it.
I would not. Again, I think McConaughey as a performer is consistent, and he works hard and he gives it his all, and he is trying. And I think he probably was bored. I don't know if he read the script. I don't know if any of the actors. I hope they didn't get the script in a way, and then they were like, "Oh shit, okay." I guess. Well, we're here. We're struggling to make money during this strike, so I better do it. Better just do it. And I can understand that and I appreciate that. And I think McConaughey. I don't think it's his best work. No. I don't think he's playing off them well. I don't think the chemistry is there. I think Gary Oldman's arguably doing the best work in this film, but even then, it isn't his best work outside of it. Within the film, it's the best acting that's going on, but I think McConaughey is, again, we see his work, we see how good he can be, we can see how incredible he can be and how charming and interesting. And maybe this was him going, I've got to be, let's try being unlikable, let's try being a dick, let's try being the worst human I can possibly be and see how well I can get that and ground that and bring that to life on screen. I can understand him doing that, considering he's doing we have Reign of Fire before this, and you had the rom-com. He's varying bring it up. I appreciate that for an actor that he has, because I used to do. I tried to not do similar things over and over again, because you can be typecast, or sick of seeing you in the same stuff, and you get kind of bored or stayed, and just like, I can just do this in my sleep now.
We're going to get there, don't worry.
Yeah, and I'm sure we are. But yeah, I think he's trying, but. And God willing, God loves a trier, and he is trying in this film, but he can't save it. Nothing can save this film. Nobody can save it.
And he's not embarrassing himself. He's not coming out in a bad way. As a person, as a performer.
It's not a bad. I wouldn't say it's a bad performance. It's not a good performance. But then the script is not good. The actors clearly are not buying into
his character's meant to be unlikable, and he is unlikable. So I guess
job done. Job done.
Yeah.
But again, I just wanted to understand his almost. I kind of wish he'd spoken about it in Greenlights, because I'd love to understand the process, or how he got to that character, or how he kind of found a way in.
Because it feels
unlikable.
Very much like this is just a job for everybody, doesn't it? Maybe this is the first job out of the strike, or.
Yeah, because Gary Oldman hadn't worked for 24 months or 23 months at this point.
Yeah.
So, and that's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman not working. So I don't know what Hollywood is looking like at the time, or what the situation is. But it must be everyone must have been on hard times, and they were like, let's just fucking suck it up. And like, I've been in shit plays, and you can't just go. I don't think I'll be in this. You're like, I'm getting paid for it. I've got to do it. I've got no other work coming in. I know it's going to be shit. I'll try my best. And maybe even if I don't try my best, it's still, and sometimes there's no saving certain things. There's no I've had times where the rehearsal period was so much more rewarding and fulfilling than when we got to the the performance side of it. I thought, this is garbage compared to the work we've been doing that no one will ever see. No one will ever know the excellent work we put in. However, the show turned out shit, and and that's the way the beast. It's the nature of the beast. You can't really control that. So again, I'll always identify the actors. I will never identify the studio and the producers and all those fuckers that ruin films. But the actors, I never really blame. Really, it's the directors, the writers, and everybody else that trumps them in terms of blame for films failing or not working for me. But then I'm not saying there's not bad performances, and I'm not saying there's not people that can pull focus or can ruin a film with a bad performance, or you're like, oh shit, that person's here again, like Peter Dinklage popping up in this all the time. I'm like, fucking hell again. And so I understand, and I like him. I still, like you said, I don't like the character, but I don't dislike McConaughey, and I can tell underneath there, he's trying to get the water, the river flowing. He's trying to bring it all to the surface. This, this hidden treasure of this character performance, whatever you want to call it. Trying to raise the Titanic, like let's say, but he can't do it, and he never could. He never would be able to. No, I don't think anybody could really. If you put anybody else in this role, I don't think anybody are doing a better job than McConaughey.
Yeah.
Even though it's not great, I think he's doing the best with what he's got.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Going back, not classic, not even completest only. Just don't bother. I really would not bother on any level.
Fair. What people should bother with, see this, look at this, is what you've got coming up. Even though you are the Sultan of shit, as evidenced by tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Really fucking scraping the bottom of the barrel of shit this time. Yeah.
Your Food World Festival coverage of Mike has been brilliant so far, and then there's lots more to come.
Yes, there is. We've got I'm dropping on Friday. Again, this will be out later, but I'm dropping our review of Below.
You will have dropped Friday. Yep.
Will have dropped. Yeah, will have dropped. So I've lost time. What's going on? Where am I? Yes, I will have dropped Below, but also on Monday, I'm dropping the other one. What's the other one we did? Alligator. Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's the end of the festival. I'm not sure what kind of our ordering is kind of a little bit askew. We're kind of doing all the reviews first. So we get home after the day and we try and review the, 2 or 3 in the morning, however long we were doing these for, trying to get our thoughts out as best we can, as concisely as we can before we collapse out of pure exhaustion. Alligator was the final film of the festival. A film I very much enjoyed before watching, but did I enjoy it this time? And did Mike like it? It's the question. That's the question. But you've got to go on both the Genuine Chit Chat channel and my channel to get both sides of the equation, because they're not all on my side, they're not all on his side. You've got to get a bit of both. Once we've done all the main reviews, we have some Q&As and some interviews and stuff we're going to pop out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to meet up again. And there was 15 short films shown, so we're going to review all those kind of short films and talk about them, because we kind of didn't want to do that in the middle of the night and get all the names wrong and what have you. So we're going to reconvene and kind of do our little epilogue to the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. Mike's doing really well, sharing all the little clips. I'm trying to catch up. He's so good at that. He's so organised, unlike me. He's getting all the good content out. But yeah, please come over to me as well. He's very good and he's doing some great stuff. But yeah, come and check me out for the other side of the equation. But yeah, we had an amazing time. Ty and all the other organisers welcomed us, and yeah, it was such a banger. I was still exhausted now, like 2 or 3 weeks after the fact. I'm still trying to recover, but it's a good tide. It's a wonderful experience, and yeah, there's some really, really cool and interesting stuff I think you guys will enjoy. And then we are jumping back on. I've just dropped Page of Apocalypse as well, another one of Astonishing X-Men. So me, Max, and Dave are continuing our Age of Apocalypse comic book event. And then I think maybe some point when this is out, I'm going to start recording with Scott, and we're going to be talking about POW conspiracy theories in films.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, more of a discussion to kind of help promote his new book. So yeah, which should be interesting. A very deep political dive, if you like that side of my stuff. We're going to get all political. We're talking about Rambo: First Blood Part 2, Missing in Action, and Uncommon Valor, but in a more general sense.
Nice. Love it. So, mate, loads to look forward to.
Yes, lots of fun.
Well, apologies to our man McConaughey, but we just couldn't tiptoe around the truth this episode. It's certainly a case of less, all right, and more, all wrong, all bleak. So, my thanks go out once again to the glutton for punishment, Spider Dam. And, of course, to you for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the reconnaissance. That was TipToes. Next up in a fortnight, I'm going to be joined by not 1, not 2, but 3 glorious guests in a show first to discuss Eminem's performance as Ben and Donald Petrie's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
You just gotta keep living, man. LIVIN.
Cut.
All right, thank you again. I tell you what, as always, the conversation was a hell of a lot more fun than watching the movie.
I can tell you that that goes double for me watching it twice. Fucking hell.